ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, to the second segment. Magove, just for the benefit of our listeners, what are you currently studying and how are you going about it? Because I noticed that you are very busy on the education side.
Yes, thanks, Sam. I didn't mention it in my introduction. So, because I only have a degree, obviously, in advertising, and I wanted to further my studies in teaching and get a teaching license. So, currently, I'm studying, getting my teaching license online through Cornerstone, which is a South African university. But I'm also working on and currently doing my MBA. That's with the Chinese university, though. So I'm in my first year of my MBA, and I'm in the last semester of getting my teaching license as well.
Very busy indeed. You're making use of your time there, which is wonderful.
Yes. I'm very fortunate that I have so much time. Obviously, with not seeing family, I think I've been the busiest in the past 4 weeks that I've been here, almost a month. It's probably the busiest time I've had because, without having family, there are friends and that, but you find you have a lot of free time. And I think studying has really, really helped to fill that free time.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Welcome back, Dean. And there's that moment of a culture quiz. Do you want to give us just a basic intro into the culture quiz and how do you find it helpful as you teach cultures to various clients across the world?
Yeah, what we like to do is come up with questions about working in another culture. And the questions in this case, I selected 5 questions that we can take a look at. The questions reveal very important aspects of Chinese culture. And it also tests our ability to think about how much are we judging the other culture by guessing the right answers. So we have a question, and then we have 4 possible answers, A, B, C, or D. Only one of the answers is the best answer, and we'll have to guess and see. If we don't know very much about the culture, it's a lot of guessing. If we know a little bit about the culture, maybe a little bit more informed decision making. But let's see how much we really know about working in Chinese culture, and we can start with the very first question. But before I do that, I had one more question for Makobe, if I might.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Great, Makobe. How have you been learning Mandarin as well while you've been in China?
Yes, I have a little bit like Indian. So like say my name, I can say where I'm from. That was the first thing I learned. I asked like, what food can I order? And the first thing I learned, I remember, was what meat is this? Like jiga shishima roll. Like, is this neuro? Is it beef? Jiga shi neuro? Jiga shi layo. Like I have to know what kind of meat it is. So I learned how to ask like what meat this is. Can I order rice and mifan and neuro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I have great respect for you for attempting to learn Mandarin. It's a challenge, and many Westerners, of course, do very, very well with it, but many people find it very, very challenging, because not only once we get the speaking part, but then the writing and the reading part is a whole other adventure, because we're using Chinese characters.
Yes.
We don't use the alphabet, so that's another part that can be difficult, and also. No doubt, Makobe, you've discovered this. The Chinese spoken Mandarin has 4 different tones.
Yes.
You can say the same word at a different tone. You could say ma, or ma, and it has a different meaning with each different tone.
I think that was the most challenging thing when I first was learning Chinese and I had to go out into like public and practice what I've learned. They're very, as you say, direct. They won't try to guess what you're saying. So I would often ask like, how much is this? Like, Doar Chen. and like that means like how much is this, and I learned how to count. I'm like, oh, it's e-buy kwai, like this is 100 kwai, like of their currency. And as soon as I said something wrong, they just didn't understand what I was saying. So I practiced and practiced like doa qian, qian, doa qian, qian. And I'd go back with my Chinese teacher and just be like, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, no, you have to emphasize, the qian. Yeah, like that tongue goes down and this one goes up. And I'm like, but they should know what I mean. And they're like, no, you have
No,
to get the tongues and the pronunciation very correct. So yeah, I'm still learning and I'm probably like at the like beginner phase, but hopefully I want to advance. I think it would be really great.
congratulations to you. I remember one time I was in the south in Guangzhou, down by Hong Kong, and down there they're speaking Cantonese, and Cantonese has 9 tones.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I didn't even hear it. I couldn't even hear the differences, but they heard the differences. And
Yes. Mm.
very, very, very
No,
difficult.
they're very particular about their language. I think they've kept their culture and their heritage very strong. And they very like at a young age the kids learn how to write the symbols and the characters. It's very beautiful to see how much they've kept that cultural heritage and teaching the meaning of the characters, that all of them mean something. I was like, wow, it's yeah. They have a lot of
Very,
pride for their country.
very, very, very true. And this kind of takes us into the culture quiz, because I think we can learn from these kinds of differences more about the meaning of the culture. Um, One of the things that learning the language always impressed me in in China is that because the children have to learn all of these different written characters, the Chinese written script is not an alphabet with different letters adding up to a word, but the characters that are used in Chinese script actually are symbols for a concept or a word. So
Mm, mm,
it's not a symbol for a letter
mm,
or a sound,
mm,
but it is a concept for the entire word.
mm,
And and the way that you have to learn these different symbols. So we don't have to just learn 26 letters. We have to learn thousands and thousands of symbols
on symbols.
that represent words.
Mm,
So how does a child learn thousands and thousands of symbols that
mm,
represent concepts and words?
mm.
Through repetition and through practice.
Yes, definitely. And even as you're saying, sorry to interrupt, how the characters are different, like symbols. Like it's actually like there's a character that's like for dog or for an animal, and they say that in the ancient times they used to like use almost Pictionary, and they show how the characters have obviously advanced and progressed now, but they'll show you that oh, this character actually looks like a human, and you're looking at it, you're like, no, but they add like a story to it and they want to explain to you how the language has progressed and how the characters have progressed from the ancient times. And it's the same, but obviously adding the new vocabulary, obviously advanced with technology. They show you what each symbol came about, how it progressed when this symbol's next to this one. And yeah, I'm definitely not there, but they do teach that to the young kids from a young age and they love it. I mean, it's their whole life.
That's right. That's right. They're very, very proud of it. And it's one of the reasons also that the Chinese written language did not develop into an alphabet, because
Mm,
it was so much a part of their history and their past and their culture that
mm,
that it became a symbol in and of itself for their own
mm,
pride in their culture.
mm,
And
mm,
also, of course, since we had so many speakers in China speaking these different languages, and they still do, all of these different languages that are spoken in China,
mm,
the only way we could get all of the people to understand each other was
mm,
through a written language,
mm,
not a spoken language, but a written language.
mm,
And therefore, changing the characters would would be a mistake, because if we made a different character for each of the different languages that was spoken in China, it wouldn't unify. But if we could all read the same characters, even if we spoke a different word, by reading the same characters, we could understand each other. Very
Yeah, and I don't know if you know, yeah, there's now obviously Pinyin. So Pinyin is the character form, like not character, sorry, the alphabetical form of the Chinese words. So like when
right,
I started learning Chinese, and even still now, you can actually read the words. Like if it's like neuro, jigasha, there's actually the letters we know, and we can read. Like I can read Chinese in terms of like the alphabet letters. So I think for typing and obviously cell phones, they've realized that obviously a lot of people can't write the characters as much on their phones. So you can type the letters on your keypad and it'll come up with the character. But you're also
right.
then able, as like an obviously a foreigner, to read Chinese through the pinging. It's called pinging, which is a lot
Opinion,
easier. Mm,
right, right.
mm.
And is the use of opinion throughout the country, or is it just for those special tasks like writing on the telephone, or typing on your cell phone and things?
Yeah, so I think it's for specific tasks. In the textbooks, a lot of the younger kids, all of it is just the characters, but you will find maybe for music, maybe music books, they're starting to convert to pinging because of the digital platform now. It's just a lot more easier because they have the same MacBooks and they want to obviously export their technology internationally. So they realize that they need to have keypads that have the same alphabetical letters. And when people type those alphabetical letters, it has the pinyin and the Chinese characters.
Both, yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
both. Mm.
So they also are challenged with the with um, with having to communicate with Westerners who only work with alphabets.
Mm.
The challenge works both ways.
Yes,
We're
yes.
all challenged. So
People,
let, let's see if all of our listeners can be challenged with 5 questions about Chinese culture, and see if they can come up with the right answers.
okay, all right. I think my mom will take that away.
No,
Okay, thanks.
I'm feeling quite archaic in this whole discussion.
Well, Louisa, here's your first question, and it's perfectly okay to guess. And I'm going to give you the question. You have been welcomed into the office of your colleague in Beijing, and they immediately hand you he hands you his business card with his name on it. And it's written in Chinese on one side and English on the other. So Chinese characters on one side, English on the other. And it says Director Wu Minwen. You read it, and then you greet him as, and here are your 4 choices. Do you greet him as Mr. Wu, Mr. Minwen, Director Wu, or Director Minwen? A, B, C, or D?
C.
So you chose Director Wu.
Yes.
And could you tell me why you chose that one and not the others?
It sounds more like how they would say it.
You've been listening to a lot of Chinese speak with each other, and I think one of the things you're recognizing is that most Chinese family names, the last name that we use in the West, most Chinese family names have one syllable.
Hmm.
So Wu is one syllable, Minwen is 2 syllables. So Minwen is the given name or the
Hmm.
first name, but Wu is the family name. So you
Hmm.
want to show respect by using the family name first. However, in China, the family name always comes first.
Hmm.
So we want to recognize that. We want to say Wu or Mr. Wu or Director Wu And that would be the right thing to do because you want to recognize his title and his achievements and his authority. So on his card it says Director Wu Min Wen, and you are correct. You would refer to him as Director Wu.
Yeah.
So for
That's
this
it.
opportunity, could you not also say Mr. Wu or
Mr. Wu would not be wrong because that is his name, but because you're meeting him and his title is on the card, it's more respectful to let him know that you recognize his authority by referring to his title. And so you would say, Director Wu, pleased to meet you. It would be wrong to say Director Min Wen because that presumes too much informality. You do not have that kind of relationship to call him by his first name. And Mr. Min Wen is just completely wrong because that would be, that's not his family name.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
There are in some situations where the Chinese recognize that in the West we put the family name at the end and not at the beginning. And so what they would do if they're familiar with meeting Western people is they would flip their first and last name around. And so on their business card it would be in Western style. It would be Min Wen Wu. But on the other side, in Chinese, it would be Wu Min Wen.
Yes. But I also like how you said, and I think this is something I'm also realizing I didn't know before, that their surnames are always one syllable.
Mainly, not 90% of the time.
Yes. Where in Western culture, our surname is obviously more longer than the first name, the family name.
Yes. And so no matter where Mr. Wu puts his family name, you can usually find that out by looking for the one syllable. Whether it's at the beginning in traditional Chinese style or whether it's the last name in Western style. If you see the one syllable name, that's the name that you want to use.
Okay. Well done.
Okay.
Okay. So you have, Louisa, you have one correct out of one. You're 100% so far.
Thank you. I like to win. I like to win.
Okay, let's continue the winning. Let's do question number 2. So you're in China now, and you are invited to a Chinese banquet in the evening after the day's meeting, and you express some concern about eating with chopsticks. It's a skill that you feel that you have never really mastered very well. As the dinner progresses, you feel more and more confident, but an uncomfortable hush suddenly comes over the table when you place your chopsticks down into your rice bowl. Did you do something wrong? So the answers you can choose is A, you did nothing wrong. The silence is simply coincidental to your placing your chopsticks into your rice bowl. Or you could choose B, which is never place your chopsticks standing upright into your rice bowl. This is a Chinese sign for death. Or you could choose C. Actually, the silence represents a pause that indicates respect for your efforts. Or D. Never rest your chopsticks by placing them inside a dish of food. Rather, always rest one chopstick on one side of your plate and the other on the opposite side of your plate. So, Louisa, A, B, C, or D, what do you think represents that sudden silence at the table?
I would say C.
The silence represents a pause that indicates respect for your efforts. Is that your answer?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, that's my answer. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, that's wrong.
Can I give it a try? Because I'm also
Yeah.
quite confused about
Well,
this one.
well, ask your mom if she gives you permission to give it a
Yes,
try.
she should have helped me in the first instance.
She was looking for my help, and honestly,
And she like,
I'm very confused about this because they do eat with chopsticks, obviously, but not everywhere. So it's yeah, I know chopstick etiquette, see, like how you meant to, but okay, I'm gonna say that it's um, I think it's B.
Never place your chopstick standing upright into your rice bowl. This is a Chinese sign for death, and you are correct.
Yes.
Why didn't she tell me that in the beginning?
You meant to do it on your own. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that, but I think it's B.
Yes, that is correct. There are lots of different things that you should know about Chinese chopstick etiquette, such as, but this one is very important because when a Chinese person dies, traditionally, of course, going back many, many years, not everybody does this today, but for thousands of years, when someone would die, they would take their personal rice bowl and they would fill it with rice and they would put that with their chopsticks, their personal chopsticks, standing up in the rice at the head of the coffin, and this would represent their final meal as they go to the other side.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
So that would be something you do not want to do at the table at the banquet, but the banquet will offer you the opportunity to practice your chopstick skills. And putting one chopstick on either side of your plate is very wrong. You always put both chopsticks
Both
together
chopsticks together.
on one side of the plate or the other.
Mm,
And
mm.
at the banquet, you will often be given a little porcelain chopstick rest to rest the tips of your chopsticks on.
I've
And
seen that. It's normally black or white, and it looks like it's made out of porcelain, kind of like shiny-ish. Yeah, I've seen those.
yes, and that's what you use to rest the tips of your chopsticks on. And
Okay.
and when children are learning how to use their chopsticks, parents give them the chopsticks to hold. And as children, of course, who don't know, they tend to hold the chopsticks very close to the tip, the part that goes in their mouth.
Mm.
And the parent always says, no, hold it further up on the chopstick. And then the child holds it further up. And then the parent says, no, hold it further up and further up. And they practice each time getting more and more skilled using the chopstick as they hold it further up. And so the tradition is if you can hold your chopsticks far away from the point, maybe at the top half of the chopstick, not the bottom half of the chopstick, that is a sign that you are more well bred. But
Oh.
if you have to hold your chopstick closer to the point, it means you were never really trained very well.
Wow. Wow. I didn't even know that. I'll be more observant of that.
I know, I know, Makobe, you're going to hold your chopsticks very far up at the top now.
Yeah.
From now on.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's try number 3. Are you ready, Louisa?
I hope it's the last one. Yeah.
We have 5 of them. Should we, Sam? Should we let Louisa and Makobe confer on these, or if they need to?
What on the next 3?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we still have some time.
Oh well, okay. If you would like to, then certainly we can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Are you saying it's enough, Louisa?
No, I'm saying that with a bit of help from.
Oh yes. No. Let's continue.
Okay, let's do number 3. At the next day's meeting, So you're sitting down now with your Chinese colleagues the next day at a meeting. A serious negotiation begins to take place. And while you are willing to lower your demands, expecting your Chinese colleagues to do the same, lower their demands, they do not. But instead, they keep repeating the same demands that they started with over and over again. Why is this happening, and why won't they negotiate? So the situation is that you make a demand, but you expect to change that if they change their demands. That's bargaining. But when you do that, they don't. They keep making the same demand over and over again. They do not bargain. Why is this happening? A, the Chinese are expecting you to eventually burn out and give in. Do not. The one who can sit the longest without giving in usually gets the best terms in China. So that's answer A. Answer B, this is a time-worn Chinese negotiation strategy, and the best counter strategy is to keep raising your demands each time they repeat their position until they realize they will not get what they want. That's B. Number C, answer C is, the Chinese typically do not behave this way at a negotiation, and if they do, it's usually an indication that they are inexperienced with Western business styles. Simply explain to them that this strategy is making you uncomfortable, and they will, in most cases, stop when they realize this is causing them to lose face. That's C. And D, the last possible answer is, the Chinese are negotiating, but in a way that's consistent with their culture. Repetition is a central Chinese cultural idea. Instead of expecting them to compromise on terms, consider providing them with more of what they really need if you can find this out, earning you their obligation to give you more of what you really need. This is complicated. And this is
complicated.
Negotiation strategy based on cultural differences.
I feel like there's like a bit of truth in each of the answers, you know, and I've never really negotiated with the Chinese person before. I don't know. My mom is asking for help on this one. She's calling a friend.
You are the friend. You are the friend. And
well,
I'm the business person and I'm the negotiator.
Makobe, I do have to say, I think you're right that there's a bit of truth in any of the answers. So you'll get half credit for no matter which one you choose.
Oh, wow, thanks. It's like a pity mark. I don't know. I feel like I have to answer and justify my answer. It's so tricky because like number C, option C, when you say that they will stop when they realize this is causing them to lose face in your eyes, and also you spoke a lot about him wanting to save face. But then also they are very, I've heard Chinese negotiation strategies are very good at getting the best terms for them. So,
right.
I would say, C. Maybe my mom can give a different answer.
But we've got to give a united answer.
No.
Yes, we do, because we're representing us, not A or B. No, I would have rather said D. I have to say, I don't know. So, do we win both ways?
Okay, then we can say D.
I would say D.
I know. Will you agree that D is the answer?
Yes, D is the answer.
And D is the answer.
Thank you.
Yay!
I'm an experienced business
Teamwork.
She's saying teamwork. It's not teamwork. She wanted C.
Yeah, but I think, it seems.
I think D
Mm,
is.
Yeah.
mm,
The Chinese are negotiating, but in a way that is consistent with their culture.
With their
And this
culture.
is a very typical difference between Western negotiation and Chinese negotiation. Um, there is an old saying in China: "Strike the iron bar until it becomes a needle." And
mm,
so, when you hit an iron bar, the way to turn it into a needle is to do the same thing over and over again. You hit it again,
mm,
you hit it again, you hit it again, until it becomes what you want. And the idea of repetition to achieve things. Back in the early dynasty days when they built the Wall of China, what we had to do is build a great wall, get 1 million people to put one brick on top of another brick on top of another brick. Each activity was the same over and over and over again, but it was repeating the same activity that finally resulted in what they wanted, in this case, a great wall. So the idea in negotiating of asking for the same thing over and over again in the efforts to wear you down, so there's a little bit of truth in the answer A, is really consistent with the Chinese idea of achieving something through repetition. How do the children learn all the different thousands of characters that they need to learn in order to become literate? They repeat over and over again how to write them. And this is the character for cat, and this is the character for dog, and this is the character for house, and the character for man, and the character for woman, over and over and over again until they memorize it. So this idea of repetition and memorization, rote memorization, is very, very strong in traditional Chinese learning systems, but it's also at the negotiation table. And I think, therefore, Westerners who are successful negotiating with the Chinese understand to expect that the Chinese do not compromise. They will not bargain something less than what they want. Therefore, they keep repeating what they want until they either wear you down and you give in. But a better strategy is to understand that you can also get what you want by doing the same, or you can give them something that they really need. And that takes the Chinese down a very different path, because there is also this idea in China of something called guanxi. And I'm wondering, Makobe, if you've heard the term guanxi in some of your experiences in China.
What does it mean?
Well, guanxi means the obligation that I have to either you or to a group of people, somebody who has done something for me, and in the old days, for me and my family. Therefore, I am obligated now to do something for you. And if I am if you've done something for me, then that makes an obligation. It makes a network of people who are obligated to do things for each other, and this is referred to as guanxi. And throughout all of Chinese history, up until very, very recently, for thousands of years, things got done in China because of guanxi. Because my grandfather did something for your grandfather, therefore I can go to you and ask you to do something for me now.
Okay.
And you are obligated to do that. The smart thing to do is to create an obligation by giving them something that you have learned that they need and want. And if you do that, they are now obligated to give you what you want. And so you get your demands taken care of as well. And everybody wins. Instead of a winner who takes more than half the pie, you can get a pie and just expand the size of the pie so that everybody gets everything that they want. And that's how the Chinese prefer to negotiate. But to go into a win-win, without compromise, without compromising, without bargaining. In other words, they do not expect to lower their price. They do not expect to lower their demands. They expect to get their demand sooner or later, one way or the other. So if you can give them more of what they want, more of what they even demand, find out other things that they might want and need, then you are obligating them to then take care of your demands, and they won't expect you to lower them either. That's yeah. So D is the best answer to this one.
It did. D.
So we win.
As a team.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So you have far more right than wrong. Yes.
We have 15 minutes to go, Dean.
Okay, let's do number 4. And fourth question. At the end of the day, you enter a taxi with your Chinese colleague. You should, when you enter the taxi, A, allow your Chinese colleague to enter the taxi first and indicate that he or she should sit in the back seat behind the front passenger seat. Or B, you should enter the taxi before your Chinese colleague does and sit in the front passenger seat beside the driver. Or C, you should indicate to your Chinese colleague that he or she should enter the taxi first and sit next to the driver in the front. Or D, you should enter the taxi first and sit in the back behind the front passenger seat while indicating to your Chinese colleague to join you in the back behind the driver.
Whoa, wow. Yeah, another difficult one. I don't think I've encountered this with any Chinese colleague before. And also because now taxis really request for you to sit at the back. I don't know if it's just since COVID times, but most people sit at the back of a taxi. Anyway, so the requesting to sit in the front is something very odd, or maybe it's something I've never noticed before.
I think you're right. I think you're right. You would not want to sit in the front. So that one is incorrect.
Okay, we've eliminated one. My strategy was working. Okay, so the front. So then that would only really leave into the taxi and sit in the back behind the passenger seat and carry your Chinese car to join you at the back behind the driver. Okay, we seem to be in disagreement here. I would say D, only because I'd like to justify my answer. Maybe since post-COVID, we use DDs and not Ubers, but I think DD and Uber work pretty much the same. The taxi drivers would insist on us sitting at the back. And obviously also in China, we can only exit the car door from the from the right-hand side. They don't allow you to enter the car from the right-hand side. So, so you would have to only enter from one side, and you're pretty much in a rush. So that is why I would answer. That's my justification for answering D, because you have to sit at the back. Would that be D then? Sit in the back. Yeah. Then my answer would be D. I don't know what Mom says. What do you think, Mom? You agree?
Yeah, I agree. Because I need a trip to China soon.
So you're agreed that the answer is D?
Yes, we are having unanimous.
Yes. No, and having been there, yeah.
Mm. It's all good thinking, but the answer is A.
Wow.
Oh.
Because the one thing we have to remember is that in Chinese culture, showing respect for hierarchy and authority is very important. And even in something as simple as where to sit, where to sit in a taxi, who sits where at the negotiating table, at the meeting table, who sits where at the banquet table in the evening in the restaurant. Very important. One thing we should do whenever, if we visit China, is when we are in a situation where we don't know where to sit, is do not take a seat. Let your Chinese hosts show you where to sit.
Mm,
So
Mm. Mm.
that way you will know the proper seating arrangement.
mm,
In a in a
Okay.
in a in a taxi, the most honored person will sit in the back seat behind the passenger. The
Mm.
next important person sits in the back seat behind the driver, and
Mm.
the least important person sits up front with the driver, if at all.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I understand that. Oh, I've never taken note of that, but yeah, it's very interesting. Thank you.
And it's similar if you're in the office, if you're sitting at a square or a rectangular table. Um, if you have your team, let's say a large team of people representing you and your company, and then you're meeting your Chinese hosts, and they're sitting on the opposite side of the table, opposite you, you'll notice that the most important person is sitting, the leader of the team is sitting
Mm.
in the middle, and they are flanked in descending order of importance. On their
Okay.
On their right is is their second most important person. On the left
mm,
side of the leader is the third most important person. And then on the
Mm.
right of the right is the next, and the left of the left, and extending down to the least important person who sits at the end of the table. And
Okay, I can see that. Mm.
and
I
the
think
end of
that, yeah.
and the end of that table is the side of the table that is facing the door, is closest to the door. So the idea is that the least important person on a team is closest to the door. So if we lose them, it's no great tragedy. They can
Oh,
just
wow.
scoop
mm,
right out.
mm.
But the leader is always
Interesting.
protected first
Mm.
on their right, then on their left, then on their right, then on their left in descending order. And your team should seat themselves accordingly, the same way. So the
Mm.
leader of your team is opposite the leader of their team, and then in descending order, right to left, right to left, right to left, until the least important person is at the end of the table. Now,
Mm. Okay. Mm.
that's the proper way to sit in an office arrangement. And if you go out to a banquet at night in a restaurant, you don't have to worry about this because all the tables are round.
Mm,
Yes,
Mm.
yes. I know, yes, round tables are a very big thing there. There's
That's
a lot
right.
of round
So no matter where we sit, we're always next to someone um, who can either you will probably be seated next to a Chinese colleague who will then help you through the banquet ceremony and help explain the
tables.
different kinds of foods that you'll be eating.
Yes, yes, I've experienced that.
Mm. I'm gonna rush you for the last one.
Okay, and the last one, here we go. Number 5. Question number 5. After arriving home from your successful meeting in China, you arrange to send a gift to your Chinese colleague in Beijing as a thank you for hosting you and your team in China. The best gift that you could send would be A, B, C, or D. A is an antique clock packaged in white gift wrapping, symbolizing your relationship that endures over time. Or B, 4 stylish luxury pens, symbolizing your working together throughout all 4 seasons of the year. Or C, a coffee table picture book of your company's headquarters city, filled with rich historical background and personally inscribed by you. So let's say a picture book of Cape Town or D, your company's souvenir silver penknife with your company's logo on it. So what would make the best thank you gift? A, B, C, or D?
Okay. I'm gonna go with.
We are going to go with B.
4 stylish luxury pens symbolizing your working together throughout all 4 seasons of the year.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I should tell you that the number 4 in Chinese is a very unlucky number.
Oh, but these are 4 stylish luxury pens, not 4.
Well, they are stylish in the West, but they are very unlucky because you've given them in a group of 4. The number 4, when you speak it in Chinese, sounds like the same word for death.
For death, yes, sir.
Right. And it depends on the tone that you use. So 4 is very unlucky. You might have noticed in China that you don't often see the 4th floor in an elevator.
Yes.
It goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just as in the number 13, you don't find in elevators in the West sometimes.
Oh, goodness. So what's the correct answer?
The correct answer here is C, a coffee table picture book of your company's headquarters city, followed by personally inscribed by you, dedicated to your Chinese colleague. The antique clock A is not good because a clock also symbolizes death in Chinese culture.
Wow.
And if you wrap anything in white paper, white is a funeral color in China.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not good. And the last one, a penknife, anything that can cut, like a knife or a scissor, even if it's a logo, even if it's something that's beautiful, symbolizes the cutting of a relationship. And you don't want to indicate that in your gift as either.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's so interesting. Very interesting.
Wow. Beautiful. Sure. Yeah, there you are.
What's your final score? I think we only got 2, right? 2 out of 5.
Well, we all winners because we have all learned something.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, colleagues. Dean, thank you so much. I mean, we're benefiting from your research work here. I know you have a lot of people on the ground, associates, that work very hard to come up with these things. And for us to benefit from that is really a privilege. Indeed.
Well, imagine the benefit of knowing this information before you then try to do the work that you're doing. How much more helpful that would be.
Indeed. And the people are saying, when are we making a round 10 into Africa? And I'm saying, don't worry, it's coming. This is a monthly show. And we also want to go to the cultures where our brothers and sisters like Makove are going and learn from them. And we will come round to talk Africa culture, to share it with the rest of the world. So there's no competition, there's no rush. Every month we will come up with a country of interest. The whole idea is bridging the cultures. Nadine?
Absolutely. I very much look forward to our discussion about African cultures.
Yeah.
I want to learn so much more.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. And before we do that, we're going to go to the East once more in September, because we have another brother that went to work and teach, like Makove, teach English in South Korea. And he proceeded to also go and teach English in China, and is back in South Africa. So we will do that, and then October we'll take one of the African countries, probably November as well. And yeah, so we have this lined up, and I think we we are learning. It doesn't matter which country's culture we're working on. We are learning cultures. At the end of the day, we have many reasons why we work with certain cultures. And the guest for us in September is a young man called Kabelo Maponya. He lives in Cape Town. He comes from Johannesburg, obviously. And he was teaching English in South Korea for a number of years. And then his last bit of international work was teaching English in China. And he is back in South Africa. He will be our guest with his mom, Lebogang Mesachwa, in September on the 13th. So another round of Eastern cultures. Dean?
It sounds fantastic. I'm very excited about this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time with us. It is a holiday in South Africa today, but the rest of the world is not on holiday. So